It's no surprise that the Marvel Studios has earned tons of loyal fans over the years. They've spent over a decade building up the MCU and filling it with compelling characters, plot lines, and conflicts. As we get ready for Avengers Endgame, a major player is entering the arena in the form of Captain Marvel. This is the first time in over 20 MCU movies that a female hero is getting her own movie, and sadly it's clouded by controversy. Did actress Brie Larson really say she doesn't think men have a right to weigh in on Captain Marvel? We'll reveal what really went down and why Captain Marvel has the odds stacked against her. Let's start out by giving credit where credit is due. There was a time when Marvel Comics was on the verge of bankruptcy and was forced to sell off the rights to many of their most profitable characters. When things were at their worst, they threw a Hail Mary by having Marvel Studios create the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU. The idea was to build a movie universe as complex and compelling as the one in the comics. Now their movies pull in billions of dollars and are practically guaranteed to smash box office records. But admittedly, their treatment of female characters hasn't always been the best. It took ages for a female hero to even get equal billing to a male hero, which we finally got in 2018 with Ant-Man and the Wasp. It seemed like Marvel was finally getting the message that audiences enjoy strong female characters, but some worry it might be too late. Everyone knows Marvel and DC have a rivalry going back to their comic book days, and when it comes to movies, Marvel has been in the lead. So it's kind of embarrassing that in this arena they've fallen behind, releasing Captain Marvel well after DC's Wonder Woman. Still, we're finally getting our female Marvel superhero movie based on the beloved fictional character Carol Danvers. Not only that, but after her standalone movie, she's going to be involved in probably the most highly anticipated Marvel movie of all time, Avengers Endgame. One issue is that the movie is being released way too close to Endgame. Marvel has been billing Thanos as a looming threat in the MCU for years and years, and that saga is finally coming to an end. So it seems like a strange time to shoehorn in a completely new character who's supposedly more powerful than all the ones we have come to know and love. This has caused many superhero fans to feel wary about Captain Marvel instead of excited to welcome her into the MCU. After all, if her standalone movie is a flop, nobody is going to want to see her show up in Endgame, a movie we have been waiting years for. Not only is she being billed as the saving grace of Endgame, but the new face of the MCU. That's a lot of pressure for a character, no matter how spectacular they are. There are even some rumors that it's not just fans who are upset about this, and some dissent comes straight from the top. Casting Brie Larson as Carol Danvers was the decision of Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige, but not everyone approved. Sources claim many other MCU actors believe she was the wrong choice for the role, and Disney CEO Bob Iger agrees. Rumor has it Bob Iger is so unhappy that he's already looking into ways to cancel Brie's contract early. This whole thing has made the future of the MCU itself feel precarious, which is making both Marvel and Disney panic. And Brie Larson herself has been in the news for some statements many people deem controversial. Instead of keeping her head down, Brie has been very active in activism lately and says she's not the type of person to hold her tongue. Originally, she didn't even want to be a part of a mainstream movie like Captain Marvel. However, she hoped she could be a good role model for young women and agreed to take the part. She said she is willing to risk her career for her activism because it doesn't feel right to her to be quiet. But recent headlines have been blaring that Brie Larson is a man-hater who says she doesn't care if men enjoy her movies. They cite a statement she made regarding the film A Wrinkle in Time in which she said, "I don't care what a white man has to say." Brie added, "I want to hear what a woman of color, a biracial woman, has to say about the film." Saying that, it's easy to see how this could come across as sexist, and indeed people were quick to label Brie as an intolerant man-hater. But is this really the truth, or is there more to the story? Context is incredibly important, and it should be noted that Brie's statement wasn't made in a vacuum. According to Brie, over the course of her career, she couldn't help but notice that white men make up the majority of film reviewers. And she's not wrong. One study found that 82% of critics reviewing the top 100 grossing movies were white. People from different racial and ethnic backgrounds only made up 18% of reviewers. And about 78% of reviewers are men, compared compared to just over 20% of women. Even when it comes to films which involve female protagonists and attract predominantly female audiences, most of the reviewers are men. When it comes to the highest-grossing movies involving female characters like Girls Trip and Wonder Woman, only 30% of reviewers were women. This is also true for movies featuring non-white leads, with only 20% of reviewers being non-white themselves. Although she could have phrased it better, this was the issue Brie was talking about when she said she didn't care about what white men have to say. In 2014, she helped launch Women of Cinefamily, which draws attention to films directed by and starring women. The group was part of the non-profit Cinefamily organization, which was embroiled in a scandal involving two of its male executives in 2017. They were accused of assault, and Brie was quick to support the victims and call for the executives to be dealt with properly. Her comment during the Women in Film Crystal plus Lucy Awards wasn't supposed to be an attack on men, but rather a call for diversity. She called for a quota of a mere 20% of minority journalists at the Sundance and Toronto International Film Festivals. But of course, encouraging diversity isn't as catchy as calling Brie Larson a man-hater and demanding a boycott of Captain Marvel. Even actor James Woods announced that Marvel Studios hates half of its audience because of this comment. We admit Brie's phrasing could have been better, and so does she. It's unfortunate that so many people would rather follow their knee-jerk reaction than bother to do any research into the context of a situation. Within the speech, she even specifically says she doesn't hate white dudes and expanded on the soundbite, which had people so up in arms. Brie called the movie a love letter to women of color. And as we mentioned earlier, she's not wrong about this. Film and film reviewing are industries which are still dominated by white men, and it's not an attack to suggest a little diversity might not hurt. Movie reviews can seem relatively benign, but it's naive to think they don't factor into how well a movie performs. Let's just take a look at DC's famous movie Justice League. Although it's famously considered a massive failure, it had a remarkably strong opening weekend. It took in $278.8 million worldwide its opening weekend. This means it was the 24th biggest opening of all time. But the movie was so reviled that as soon as reviews started coming out, people stopped going. Despite starting incredibly strong, the movie ended up losing the studio around $60 million. Brie talked about the power these reviews have, pointing out that good reviews can give independent films a chance to be bought and seen. Good reviews equal more money to be made at the box office, lead to awards, and can be life-changing. Brie feels as though she's benefited from good reviews over the course of her career, which is another reason she refuses to be silent about this issue. But sadly, there seems to be no shortage of people who would rather demonize her over an ill-phrased comment about something important. It's not uncommon to see headlines proclaiming that Brie Larson is against all men and doesn't think they have the right to enjoy or review movies. And of course, that isn't the only thing Brie has been chastised for. Despite being an Academy Award-winning actress, people criticized her performance in the very first Captain Marvel trailer. They accused her of not smiling enough, which is a comment many women are all too familiar with. Some even compared her to a piece of wood and claimed Marvel Studios had made a huge mistake by casting her. After all, who doesn't have a big smile on their face while trying to save the world? Some fans were on Brie's side and even provided some photoshopped images of male Marvel heroes smiling to prove how ridiculous of a complaint this was. Making a superhero movie isn't easy, and Brie had a lot more on her mind than whether or not she should smile. She started training 7 days a week to get ready for filming Captain Marvel and was determined to do as many of her own stunts as possible. Even Marvel Studios told her not to worry about it, but Brie wanted to fully commit to the part. She would leave the studio after filming fight scenes completely bruised, but feeling satisfied by a job well done. Unfortunately, the decks seem to be stacked against her at a time when all eyes are on her. The very first Captain Marvel movie is sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame, making fans more critical than ever. While Marvel Studios has made plenty of great movies, there are also plenty of duds. Many fans consider the first Thor movie to be underwhelming, and the second to be possibly the worst movie in the MCU's library. And then there's 2008's The Incredible Hulk, which most people flat out forget about entirely. But of course, if Captain Marvel doesn't do well, people will point to this as a failure of the female superhero. When you add that to the number of people screaming that Brie should just be quiet and smile more, it's easy to see the deck is stacked against her. It seems like even before she makes her big screen debut, Captain Marvel has been set upon by enemies at all sides. Will she triumph, or will she end up being a serious blow to female superheroes? What do you think about the controversies surrounding Brie Larson and her role as Captain Marvel. Do you think she's being set up to fail, or are you excited to see the latest Marvel movie? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section, and then click on the subscribe button for more videos from us here at The Taco. Bye for now.